Hello everybody, this is Jim from Hawaii. It's March 28th. It's about almost 11 o'clock in the morning here. Just wanted to do an update on how the system's coming. I basically completed everything that I wanted to do to it. The only thing I have left is to automate the system for draining the radial flow filter into the mineralization tank on the plant side. And I went onto the Mr. Vanderwerf's blog and website, and he mentioned using a sprinkler valve. And since I already have sprinklers installed here, it would be a pretty easy thing to do to just hook one more pair of lines out to a valve and time it. So I can set the timer for 7 days a week and probably a minute or two every morning and a minute or two every night. And then that'll make things a lot easier for me. And I'll probably use it to both drain the fish water into the plant side and also to refresh the fish tank water. And for that I'll also need a filter so I get the chlorine out and everything as it goes through as the tap water goes through the hose. So that's one of the things I'll be working on next. Mainly I just wanted to say that after using the old system that I had, this system really is a lot better. Just the advantages are apparent even now in the beginning stages, and it is early in the process here. I've only had this thing up and running for a week, but already I can see the advantages. Separating the fish from the plants, not worrying about putting things, nutrients and stuff in the plant side and harming the fish. I have a bug problem here in the summer, so not worrying about pesticides or whatever I decide to use, although I try to keep it natural. But it's just a lot of, it's a relief, really, knowing that it's just one more thing that I don't have to worry about as far as harming the fish go. So I really like it. It's great. And the pH control, obviously I keep the pH at around 7.2, 7 for the fish, and around 6.5, between 6 and 6.5 for the plants. So I'll go over the whole system instead of piecing it out like I did before, and then show it again. I've got plants in there now growing, and like I said, it is early, but I don't really foresee any major issues in the future. This is probably how I'm going to stay for a while. So, having said that, let's go on and look at the plants. So it's I don't know, all of a sudden these clouds rolled in. It was looking really sunny this morning and everything. You see it's still blue over there, but I got some clouds. I got a little bit of sprinkles coming in. I don't think it's going to last long. They forecasted a good weekend this weekend, so this will probably just pass through real quick, I hope. So we'll start with the fish tank. It's just an IBC, and got the golden tilapias in there. They seem to be happy. The water's still pretty clean. Don't have a lot of floating debris in there right now. I owe that probably to the sieve filter that I built, which I'll show you here in a minute. I put a lid on here to keep the leaves out mainly. I've never had a problem with any fish jumping out of the tank, but who knows. So I put that down at night. I have my air pump up there, which I turn on at night, just in case I lose a pump or something. They'll still get air. And in addition to this little surface skimmer with a strainer on it, I've added another one right here facing upwards, and it skims. It's got holes in the side too, so the water goes in the side, not so much in the top. And then of course the one that goes all the way to the bottom of the tank is that one there. It gets all the stuff on the bottom. Haven't seen a lot of stuff on the bottom, so it's going somewhere, and I'm hoping it's going right there into my radial flow filter. I've got 2 inlets going into it, and same old pipe coming up, pail going down, and then my outlet comes out, goes into the biofilter. I've got a Caldness type filter in there. As you can see, it's bubbling along pretty good. It's gotten really dark. In fact, it's darker over on this side than it was on the other side. So I'm not sure why that is. I mean, it was dark, but it was just an off shade of white. It wasn't as dark as it is now. I don't know if that's because it's working better now than it was before. Because of the Venturi tube, or what the deal is with that. Once in a while I'll come in here and stir it up just to get stagnant stuff moving. So, seems to be working really good. The difference is last time I had an air stone, and now I've got a Venturi tube. There's the air going down into the Venturi tube right there. So, I tried to make it, you know, everything work off pumps this time. So, you know, the air stone, like I said, I only use it to at night as a backup, a fail-safe, I guess. But I like the idea of just using pumps to do everything, including oxygenate the water when it's needed. Of course, that goes into my sieve filter, which is humming along. And this is designed from Mr. One Superb, and it is operating really good. That screen is 100 micron. The only thing I might do different is maybe go to 200 or 300 micron. A film kind of develops where the water goes in, and then I might have to flip the screen around or flip it upside down once in a while. But it's a minor thing. One thing about 100 micron, it will definitely keep anything going through. And then you can see I had that little reservoir down there. It looks like the water's getting underneath it because it's not really filling up to come out those holes. Another minor thing, but I'll fix that eventually. And of course the water goes behind the screen and goes out there to the sump. And then any solids that slide down the screen will go out that exit there and come into here, where it will get filtered out with these two socks. Sorry about that. And you can see they just come out like that and go back in. I clean those twice a day. Those are felt socks, and I do have some nylon 200 micron socks coming. So I'm hoping the nylon will be easier to clean. And then that drains into my sump tank, just a 55-gallon. I have a lot of rocks on these lids to keep them from flying off if the wind kicks up. And I keep it right at that level. So whenever I drain the fish water into the mineralization tank, which is right there on the fish side, I just add water into that, up to that line again. So that's my mark. Okay, so and that bottom PVC pipe, the source comes out of the sump tank, goes into the inline pump, 2,500 gallon pump, and that goes from this little juncture here, comes up this way through a Venturi, which generates my oxygen in my tank. And there's a little valve there for adjusting the air. I got it wide open, as I do, I think, on all my Venturis. And then this comes up. I don't use this too much, but it just dribbles a little bit of water in the surface. Another valve. And then this here is just a shunt, so I can regulate the amount of water going to everywhere. And that just comes back into the sump tank. And that's basically the fish side of things. So on this side, there's my radial filter and my MBBR, and they both have 3/4 inch pipes coming out of the bottoms of them. And I open those valves up, and that water goes down into my mineralization tank. This tank's a one-way tank into my plant system. It's oxygenated with a Venturi tube. Again, being run off a second pump that's pumping all the water for the plant system. This is just a 5-gallon bucket, and on the bottom of it I've got a felt scratch pad, big scratch pad for floor buffers and stuff, and it filters out all the junk. You can see the air coming up from the Venturi, There's a hole, big hole in the bucket. A lot of little holes around that. And that sits here. And it keeps the solids from coming up into this water, which goes back into my system, my plant system. Yeah. Take a few of those solids got through there. Okay. And then that drains into my main sump here for the plants. Another IBC tank. By the way, there's the Venturi tube down there on the mineralization. It's inside the tank actually. It's one of those spa Venturis. I wanted to try one of those, so I ordered one. And yeah, it works pretty good for what I need. This is my main sump tank here. Okay. There's the mineralization tank coming in. Since it's flowing all the time because I got the Venturi tube running, there's always water coming into it and flowing back out into the sump. Just a circular flow. And then there's my plant water coming back from my growing bed. And it's coming from my mixing slash settling tank here, which is just a 55-gallon barrel in the ground. So you can see there's the drain for the plants, the grow beds. There's the grow beds. When they drain, it comes out, goes through there, and goes into this settling slash mixing tank, and that comes through here and into my main sump. And there's a pump down there on the bottom. It simply recirculates everything back, down through there, over and up. And there's a valve there, and it goes to my various beds. They all have valves. And then there's a 1/4 inch tube that has a valve on it, and it comes in this way. And this goes into my Dutch bucket system, which is this system right here. And this is, each of these buckets has 2 hoses. I keep the hoses pushed under the lava rock to keep algae from forming. And there's 10 buckets. And I got just the various different plants growing and all this stuff. I like to experiment. I don't like one certain thing. So I'm still new at, this stuff, and I'm experimenting a lot more than I'm actually seriously growing anything. But I've got just about everything you can think of between the grow beds and the Dutch buckets. And then this is just a simple sump. So, you can see that's from the grow beds. This is from the Dutch bucket system. And it just goes through this back into my main sump. Pretty simple stuff. And I think it's the simple things that work the best. So, nothing special about any of this. This is just a simple siphon system. All 3 of them have the same siphons. They're working really well so far. I've finally adjusted the flow outputs to the beds. And as you can see, I've got a smorgasbord of different things growing in here. Corn. I always wanted to try corn, so I'm going to give it a shot and see how it does. It's a Hawaiian sweet corn. Some herbs, carrots. I've got different kinds of cabbages and lettuces in here. Pepper plants over there. Okay, lettuce. There's a regular cabbage. I think that's a bok choy or something like that. And this here is Swiss chard. So there's a cinnamon basil back there in the back. I've got a couple different basils. Some kale right here. This is another basil here growing. And peas. I'll have to build a support structure for this once it gets going, which is going to be pretty soon, I suppose. That's Okinawan sweet potato. They use the leaves for salads and stuff, and when it goes, it vines like crazy, and it just takes off. I've grown this before, and it really goes nuts. Strawberries. I've always wanted to try strawberries. I know my pH is probably too high for it, at about 6.5, but I can get it down to 6. Maybe that'll make it happy. I don't think it'll hurt anything else in here if I get it down to 6. There's some green onions that I just threw in there, and that's pole beans, and that'll also have to have a support structure when it starts to go. And then on the Dutch buckets, I've got various things growing. This is eggplant. Okay, and then this is another eggplant, 2 different varieties of eggplant. Snow peas over here. That's a, what was that? It's a pepper plant, but I can't remember the that was the sweet pepper. Okay, so that's the sweet pepper. And you got your red pear tomatoes. And that's a brandywine tomato plant. That thing there I dug out of the ground. It's a wild rose bush. They're really hard to get rid of. You have to get all the roots or they'll just spring up again. So I'm continuously digging these things up. They were here when I moved in. And I just thought I'd throw it in there just to see what it does. And then I got 2 different varieties of cucumbers. And that thing is also something that I dug out of the ground. Since I moved in about 7 years ago, these things were here. And they are like weeds. They're some type of cherry tomato. I don't know what kind it is, but they're prolific. And again, you have to dig out the entire root to stop them. And then when they do fall on the ground, the seeds are just super fertile. They grow in just about anything. I think they grow in cement if they landed on it. I was continually pulling these out around the house when I first moved in. So this one was the newest one to pop up, and I just tossed it in there to see how it would do. So that's basically the system, and I've got room for expansion. It's a long, narrow yard here on the side of the house, but you can see I got a valve here with this 1/4-inch tube. All I got to do is connect the 1/4-inch tube on the end of this and continue on, and I can put more Dutch buckets in if I want to. Oh, so you're starting to come down now a little bit. The drills is getting heavier. So that's the system. The maintenance is pretty light. It takes me about 10 minutes a day. I have to clean out the sieve filter. I just hose it down because it gets a slimy residue on it, which kind of, retards the ability for the water to go through it a little bit. And then the socks, I take those out and I just exchange them with 2 clean ones waiting to go. And then I take those old ones out and I wash them out. And then replace the water and do the water exchange. I'm probably going to increase the water exchange to 10% of the total capacity on the fish side, just to try to mitigate the nitrate buildup. And then I put some salt in there as well. Gary from Aquaponics Nation recommended a formula for how much salt to put in there, so I'll probably do that pretty soon here. The nitrates aren't too bad right now, about somewhere around 100, between 100 and 150 or something like that. I still have some ammonia, a little bit, maybe 0.25 parts per million, and between 0.25 and maybe 0.50, it's hard to say with those colors. And nitrites are low, very low, but they're there. The system really cycled quickly because I used the media that was already saturated with the bacteria. I just moved it over here. So I kind of cheated, so I don't have to go through the normal cycle times. At least I don't think I do. And considering my nitrate amounts, I guess it worked out pretty well. But yeah, so that's it. Again, I can't express how great this system seems to be working with the dual loop. The advantages are pretty apparent to me anyway. And I think the only thing I got left to try is a sand bed culture, which, boy, it's hard to get sand here in Hawaii. So anyway, I'll keep looking and see what happens. So later.